All right, welcome back. I have Libros Oshoma, who is a legal practitioner and, of course, a public analyst to weigh in on this issue and give us a legal perspective to it and, of course, other perspective as well. Libros, let me start by asking a direct question. Can the president resubmit the name of Ibrahim Magu to the Senate for to be considered as chairman of EFCC?
Yes. He can renominate him as
because we've heard some people say, some senior lawyers actually saying he cannot renominate him again.
No, he can renominate him. He can renominate him to that position. If you remember, even
and of course, we had some senators like Dino Melaye, for instance, when this issue, during the clearance, saying that he cannot be renominated.
No, he can renominate him. He can renominate. There is no end to his nomination. For me, what I think is playing out here is if the president decides to put his house in order.
Thank you very much. And that's the key issue, because it appears we are seeing a situation where the presidency and the president, of course, does not appear to be in control, because you look at it, it's like the presidency is the one actually arming the senators to actually ambush, if you like, his nominee, because these senators have continued to maintain that they are relying on a report from the DSS, and the DSS is a part of the executive.
Yeah, yes, that's where the whole thing becomes very frightening to me, because you have these two agencies they report to the presidency, not just part of the executive. They are agencies under the presidency, because the DSS, the budget of the DSS comes under the presidency.
That's true.
The DSS also reports directly to the presidency. And so it's an agency that is under the presidency, not just part of the executive. And if you look at Section 2, Sub 2 of the EFCC Act, the DGDSS is a member of the board of directors.
That is quite EFCC. Surprising of the EFCC. And so why are we having this?
And so, for me, that's why I said it's frightening, because in October, when DSS wrote that first letter to the Senate, the only
two letters actually contradict.
Exactly, the first letter to the Senate, this letter to the Senate, the only response from the presidency was the fact that no, they were not aware of this letter. They have a copy of a different letter,
quite a test response.
And it ended there. And then the president renominated Magu again.
And you would have thought that the president would have done, all the necessary investigations, sorted out the issues with the DSS, so probably call the DSS DG to say what exactly is going on.
For me, I expected an investigation into these two conflicting letters, one to the Senate, one to the presidency. Why? I expected, the presidency to look into that matter and possibly, come out with a position on it. The presidency didn't come out with a position. Rather, what we saw was a renomination of Magu. And then, frighteningly, a day before his appearance
at the
Senate,
at about 5
at the close of work,
another
letter came from the same DSS,
reaffirming the earlier one,
reaffirming the earlier position. And so, what you now begin to ask yourself is it that there is somebody within the presidency that does not want Magu cleared, and so now needs to collaborate with the Senate to give it,
I'm happy you are bringing this, because it's becoming very glaring now that even within the presidency, there must be some kind of infighting. For instance, we've had reports, these reports have not been confirmed anyway, that the DSS DG and the NSA are not in the best of terms. That even when the DSS the DG was supposed to be reporting to the NSA, that the DSS DG does not report to the NSA. I don't know, but nothing has been confirmed anyway. And we also heard that the NSA has no problem at all with Magu, has actually cleared him and all of that. But then, so it appears there is some kind of, I don't know whether to call this rivalry now.
If you remember also, not long ago, there was a problem between the Controller General of Customs and the NSA. The NSA wrote a damning report against the Controller General to the presidency, and then the Controller responded by also saying that he had expected the NSA to have written him first. And, you know, also not too long ago, you saw we
saw that rivalry, if you like,
between
the
the Controller General and the Minister for Finance. Also, you saw the conflicting statements from Abike Dabiri in presidency and the Minister for
Foreign
So
Affairs.
you now begin to ask yourself, is there no mechanism for synergy, you know, amongst these people that are working with the president? And then now, coming with a report from the DSS to the Senate. And then also, you also know that every nomination coming from the president, almost every nomination coming from the president on the offices, exalted offices such as this, ought to have gone through DSS
even
vetting.
before it gets to the Senate, exactly vetting.
Even before
it gets to
the
the Senate,
announcement is made. And so the question now would be, did Magu go through DSS vetting? If he didn't go through DSS vetting, why didn't he go through?
DSS vetting.
And knowing fully well that if his name is sent to the Senate will ask for a report from the DSS. And what did the presidency or the president's liaison officer at the National Assembly, being a former senator, what did he do to ensure that these processes is harmonized, and then give an easy right of way to the president's nominee? Because mind you, this was it was on the slogan or on the drive of anti-corruption that a lot of people voted for Mr. President. They believe that, look, he's coming to the big menace in our social life and our national life. And so one would have expected that the presidency should have a robust strategy for handling this issue. They missed it from the very word go. That's why we're having all of this problem. Remember, Deji, quickly, I did tell you some times ago that when the president was elected, even before swearing in, some people had expected him to lobby for the headship of the National Assembly. And he came out to say anybody that emerged, he would work with.
And of course, that played against him.
And for me, I thought that having, wanting to drive a different process, different from the Nigerian processes that we know. You should be interested. You lobby. Nobody's saying go and bribe. You lobby. In parliament, you lobby. They didn't do that. And so these are the fallouts.
And we also had one of the senators, Shehu Sani, for instance, coming out to say on TV just a day after this incident happened that the basic reason why Magu has failed to scale the nomination is just because the presidency has failed to lobby the senators.
That's what I'm saying. And so these are the fallout of that laid-back attitude. And because also, to tell you that the presidency is not interested in Magu, if you remember the issue of Buratai, you saw how timeous the presidency came out in staunch defense of Buratai.
But we've not seen the same kind of reaction.
Exactly. How about the issue of Babache? It was the same, the presidency came out, issued a letter.
Honestly,
but in the case of Magu,
it's very
from October,
quite embarrassing.
December, and now, the presidency, had not come out in the same strong term.
You're absolutely right. This is quite embarrassing. And to be candid, we just wait and see how the presidency deals with this. But this is an embarrassment, not just to the presidency, but the president himself.
Yes,
and
yes.
This basically questions his authority, whether or not he likes
That's
it.
true.
That's true. Because if one of the agencies under his very watch, under his nose, could do this, and you also, as you pointed out, that agency, the chairman, the head of that agency, is also in the board of the EFCC. It's quite baffling. Now, let us leave the presidency aside, because whether we like it or not, we also know there's politics involved in all of this.
Definitely.
Okay,
definitely.
Now, let's talk about the senators for themselves. Of course, naturally, would have an axe to grind. Let's face it. It's like we know that some of these senators who are former governors are facing issues, of course, with the EFCC. And then you are asking these senators to confirm?
Yes, it's like asking, armed robbers, permit me to use that word, alleged armed robbers to confirm the IG of police. Really.
I hope that, anyway, it's just an analogy. It's not as if you're trying to...
No, I'm not calling anybody armed robbers now. And so, you also, if you look at the whole scenario, that's why for
because
me,
in this case, the senators are smart. you know, they were provided the gun
With
to
it,
just
exactly.
shoot, even though they have the
That's
intention
why
to shoot.
for me, I expected the liaison officer, the special advisor to the president on National Assembly matter, to have done a whole lot, much more on this. If truly the presidency is interested in, you know, pushing for these candidates, a candidature of Ibrahim Magu. And then also against the backdrop, you know, like I said, we have missed a whole lot of things. When you know that this agency, it's a very important agency, and if confirmed, the moment anybody you appoint there, the moment he gets into office, he's probably, some of the people he's going to investigate are people that are going to confirm it. The first thing you do, you clear all the legal hurdles of confirmation, even before he resumes work. Because as soon as he resumes, he's going to turn against some of these people.
What exactly could have been done?
What could have been done, the moment Lamode left, as soon as Ibrahim Magu is nominated, immediately you push for his confirmation. Before, not appoint him in acting capacity for some time, because the moment he starts acting,
will ruffle feathers.
He will ruffle feathers with the people that are going to clear him.
Right.
And then the moment they start ruffling feathers with them, then he has a problem. And if he
let's
does
not
ruffle feathers,
forget that in that Senate you have several former governors.
that's what I'm saying. And if he does not ruffle feathers, then it's not good enough for the job. And so you make sure that that legal hurdle is cleared. And so the man starts work, you know, without having to look over his shoulders. And then look at the National Assembly. You have about almost 20-something former governors there. Even as we speak now, the, what's it called? Was it ecological funds or the Paris debt reform?
So you even
that
have
they are also
governors involved,
investigating.
and these governors
you
have
some
got
seats,
sons
exactly.
in the Senate.
You also have former governors who were indicted. You have some people who the EFCC has already indicted. And also, it's also very convenient to say, look, it's not about Magu. Any other person can come and do the job. But with the way, the zeal with which Magu went about the job,
right.
you know, it brought that same zeal that we saw in Ribadu back, you know, to EFCC. And so a lot of people became frightened. How do we curtail this man? Right. And so what the DSS provided them, you know, with the instrument. And you saw how Dino Melaye, you know, made drama out of the whole thing. And then for the person of Senator Dino Melaye, fantastic young man. But then, if you remember, when Lamode, EFCC under Lamode was investigating the Senate president and the wife, the same Senate set up a committee headed by Dino Melaye, who is the Senate president's man Friday.
Yes,
because even if you listen to him on the floor of the Senate, the Senate president that cannot be removed and all of that, you know, and he was the one to investigate EFCC. And when EFCC eventually invited Saraki's wife, who escorted
almost the entire Senate.
Senate led by Senator Dino Melaye. And so it shows that, look, there is conflict of interest. And these are people who have a constitutional role to play in clearing the president's nominee. And so,
do you think there's something wrong with that system?
If not for that letter from the DSS, it would have been difficult for them
to maneuver.
But
they probably might still be able to do it.
They probably wouldn't have allowed him to appear.
Yeah, and let's face it, they just might be able to do it because, I mean, especially when you put these issues to voice vote. We have seen in the past
because
where even when the nays had...
Even that voice vote, I listened to him. All you need to do for you to have it is to raise your voice higher. Even if there were 5 people that
But we also know that, look, forget about this issue of the nays and the ayes. At the end of the day, it depends on the man who's holding the gavel.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And we've seen that in the past. In the case of some ministerial nominees who were cleared, I mean, you could actually tell that the nays were more than the ayes. But then the man who had the gavel, that's the Senate president, said the ayes.
That's what I'm saying.
So it also depends on the disposition of that man.
Even for Magu, if you listen to the ayes and the nay, the only difference is that those that said nay shouted louder. And so it was as if they had it. But if you decide to take a count, I think that majority of the senators would have allowed his nomination still true. But those that don't want him, you know,
and it's a tough one for him because you look at it. He has an issue with the Senate president. Let's not deceive ourselves.
It is obvious.
He has an issue with the Senate president. I mean, the wife is being investigated and all of that. A number of senators there, whether we like it or not, The EFCC has issues with them. And so at the end of the day, the man you have issues with, at the end of the day, since he actually decides which side now carries the day, as in between the ayes and the nays, it's a difficult call. I mean,
that's why for me, I had expected for somebody that understands the Nigerian political landscape. You look at all of this. That's why they say if you don't know where you're coming from, it's difficult for you to know where you're going to. From where we are coming from, if you look at the political landscape, it will be easy for you to say, look, somebody I'm bringing to head this organization is somebody that will not listen. And so once I bring him on board and he starts, if he does not scale through confirmation from day one, and then I allow him to start his job, it will be difficult for him.
So what challenge do you think the president faces now? Because, well, from what we're seeing, there's a possibility that he might renominate him, and there's also a chance that the senators will not accept.
Yes, from what is on ground now, it is always obvious that it's a personal fight between the Senate and Magu on one hand, and then if the president decides to, yes, if the internal, you know, some persons, within the presidency, and so, and if the president decides to renominate,
so should the president cave in and probably come up with someone else as some people?
The president,
there's also a danger in that.
Yeah, the president can, because the retreating, like they say, there's a proverb that says the retreating of the ram is not an act of cowardice or act of fear. You know, you can always retreat and cave in and give the impression that, look, all is well. But you bring, it's not the only person that can do the job. You bring a tougher person that you're sure.
But there's also an implication there.
Because in negotiation, there are some, they say every gambler knows that you should know what to throw away, you know what to keep. If you want to keep all, you might just lose all at some point.
And do you think it's also possible, for instance, to, as we've been talking about lobbying now, to lobby these senators, and if they are well lobbied, I don't know what lobbying is, and then if they are well lobbied, then they might just be amenable to clearing this individual.
The presidency should,
because
first
obviously there's been no lobbying.
Yes, but they should put their house in order.
In order.
Because the major problem is from within.
They are the ones actually arming the outsiders.
Like I told you, if not for that letter, even though they still would have not have allowed him skate through, it would have been difficult. But when you now provided them with the tool, all they needed was to do a mincemeat of it, a show off, and
it's quite surprising that this will be happening under the presidency's watch. I mean, for two agencies to be having this kind of issues now boiling out. I mean, we've always known there had always been interagency rivalry, but this has gone beyond interagency rivalry. We're beginning to see personal egos involved here, and
because
it's quite sad.
Because if you remember also, the president's wife did raise an alarm that the way things are, these are not the people he's known his husband with. All of a sudden now you have new friends. And one, like somebody said, that the most dangerous people in power are not those in power, but those around the corridors of power. And those around the corridors of power will want to consistently remain there. Those are the people that will advise you, that will give you advice on how it should go.
As Adeba Adeniro, who came earlier before you, said, it's also not impossible that some of the ministers too could also be working against Magu, considering the fact that some of them also have issues. I mean, they have questions.
Yes, because they say all lizard lies prostrate. So it's difficult for you to know which one suffers bellyache. And so everybody now, the moment you hop on the horse with the president, you assume a toga of a scent anti-corruption. But truly, there are so many people who were part of the past that we want to forget, who for reasons of majority carries the day in democracy, are part of the government of today. And so definitely there are some things they will not want to move forward. And so you really can't rule out until the president puts his foot down and look for the right people to do the job for him. It will be difficult for him. And at the end of the day, the buck stops at his table.
Exactly.
And it's his name that people will remember. Oh, in his tenure, this happened, that happened, and that happened.
It's quite embarrassing.
So if he wants to his name not to, you know, be remembered in a negative, I think it's something he needs to look inward first and foremost, not hurriedly renominating him, or even if he wants to nominate someone else, but he needs to look inward and find out, like we say,
within the
you
house.
know, look within the house, where did we go wrong. And how do we need to do this, and then keep his cards to his chest.
Honestly, if I was the president, heads will roll on this issue.
Well, you know, Nigeria, heads will never roll.
If I was
Rather,
heads will roll.
I had expected heads to roll in December.
Honestly, heads will
Heads
roll.
ought to have rolled long ago in December. Since heads didn't roll, now they are still insisting that, look, we stand by earlier position. And as it is, the president should even be afraid for himself if cares not taking.
Honestly, he should. He should. It's quite baffling. All right, we'll take a short break, and we're still going to come back and continue this discussion. Stay with us. Every day, every hour, and every minute, news break in Nigeria. Things happen so fast, it's most times difficult to track and comprehend them. But that's what we do right here on DEJI360. 2015, would you want to come back again?
It's like asking Jesus Christ if he knew he was going to die, will you want to come back as the savior of the world again?
We do not just help you track the stories, we break them down, explore all the angles, analyze the issues so that you can fully comprehend the stories and use them to make the right decisions.